Welcome to the Deep Dive. We're the place you come to really get under the skin of a topic, using the sources you, our learner, provide.
That's right. And today, we've got a really interesting figure, Dean Jones.
Yeah, his career path is, well, it's something else. We're looking at someone who made this huge leap, really.
Huge is the word. From managing, super high-stakes security and massive construction projects for sensitive UK government buildings.
We're talking the Palace of Westminster level stuff.
Exactly. And then transitioning completely to become a key player, a real visionary in Jamaican real estate and infrastructure development. He's actively shaping that market.
It's that contrast that really grabs you, doesn't it? The journey itself.
It really does. And that's the core of what we need to unpack today. The sources lay out this real duality.
Yeah.
On one hand, you've got the superstructured, zero mistake allowed world of UK senior management. Think meticulous planning, large-scale project control, everything by the book.
Right, the ultimate in discipline.
And then on the other hand, you've got the Caribbean real estate scene. Highly dynamic, very relationship-driven, often unpredictable. And crucially, it's a commission-based market.
A completely different beast.
Totally. So our mission for you, the learner, is to figure out how that translation works. How does someone take decades of that methodical, London-based project management expertise,
Westminster Rigor.
yeah, that rigor, and apply it successfully in what Jones himself calls the relentless hustle of the Jamaican property world?
That phrase, relentless hustle, really paints a picture. I find that whole dynamic fascinating. So our goal here is to pull out the specific insights, right? The investment angles, the cultural know-how you absolutely need, and just the sheer grit, the resilience it takes to bridge those two worlds.
Exactly. And we should probably start with the foundation, the UK side, because his professional background there, it's incredibly solid, speaks volumes about his discipline.
No kidding. The sources mention, what, over 25 years in the UK construction industry?
Yeah, a quarter century. And mostly in senior management roles.
Yeah.
But it's not just putting in the time, It's about certified, recognized expertise. He's a certified project manager.
Okay.
And, this is significant, he's a fellow of the Chartered Institute of Building, a CIOB chartered fellow.
Right, and for anyone listening who isn't familiar, being a CIOB chartered fellow, that's not just some certificate. It's top tier.
It really is. It signals serious management capability, strategic leadership within the global construction sector. It means you don't just know how to build something. You know how to plan it, lead it, execute massive, complex projects.
And the academic side backs that up too, doesn't it?
It does. He holds a master's in communication design and a postgraduate diploma in building surveying.
Interesting combination.
Very strategic, I think.
Yeah.
He gets the physical nuts and bolts as the surveying part, but also the crucial people side, stakeholder management, information flow, the communication design element, skills you absolutely need for those high-level government contracts he was involved in.
And those contracts. Wow. The complexity is just off the charts. Reading the list, it's like a blueprint for UK strategic security.
It's an extraordinary list, yeah. He was directly involved in the Palace of Westminster's security program.
That's Parliament for listeners outside the UK.
Right, the very heart of British democracy. We're talking physical security for both the House of Commons and the House of Lords. Just think about the risk assessment involved there.
The coordination.
Exactly. You're juggling historical building constraints, the need for continuous operation 204/7, and layering on the highest level of counterterrorism threat assessment. Methodical doesn't even begin to cover it.
Failure is simply not an option in that environment. That kind of zero failure planning must embed a certain way of thinking, a certain business DNA.
Absolutely. And it wasn't just Parliament. The sources also mentioned his work on the Metropolitan Police Estate Renewal Program.
London's police force.
Right, and the OMPAC Counterterrorism Hub. These aren't just office refurbs. These are critical infrastructure projects where precision, budget control, timeline adherence, they're paramount.
If you can successfully manage renovating a counterterrorism hub, you've pretty much proven you can handle extreme complexity, secure processes, and immense pressure.
It's the ultimate stress test for project management skills. A real crucible.
And it wasn't all just security and policing, though. To show his range, the sources also point to things like the MKU project.
Ah, yes, the new university development for Milton Keynes. That shows foresight, involvement in building modern infrastructure, not just securing the old.
So the portfolio really spans the spectrum: high security, policing infrastructure, historic preservation, and forward-looking educational facilities.
It proves he can operate in very different regulatory environments handled diverse stakeholder needs. But importantly, the sources show he didn't just stay on the corporate or public sector track, he branched out, became an entrepreneur,
That's right. He's the CEO of Natuz.
which is an infrastructure as a service platform.
And I think that's a key detail. It shows his expertise isn't just bricks and mortar, it's also the digital infrastructure that underpins everything today. That's vital for a place like Jamaica, which is rapidly modernizing its economy.
That's a really crucial link, isn't it? Because modern real estate, modern construction, it all relies heavily on digital systems now. Sales platforms, property management, smart home tech.
Everything.
So Jones is connecting that physical world he surveyed and managed in London with the digital world he's building globally through Natuz. And of course, that leads us directly to his role as director of Jamaica Homes.
The platform that's really central to this whole story.
Precisely. But beyond just the sheer volume of these professional roles, the sources also make a point of highlighting his advocacy work.
Yeah, his commitment to social issues seems pretty strong. Active advocacy for diversity, inclusivity.
Organ donation, racial equality, it's all there.
It points to an underlying value system, doesn't it? Being featured on something like the Black Excellence in the Building Industry list isn't just a personal pat on the back.
No, it feels like a commitment. Like he's trying to ensure the industry he's succeeded in becomes more open, more representative, which, let's be honest, construction has historically had issues with.
True. And he even fused that commitment with commerce through, what was it, Societal?
Yeah, a streetwear brand focusing on socio-political issues.
So it's clear there's this thread running through everything, the professional work, the entrepreneurship, the personal philosophy. It's all integrated.
And that integration finds its real grounding, its sort of emotional core, in Jamaica. Which brings us neatly to part two,
Yeah.
the roots. This isn't just some calculated business move for him. It feels like a return.
Definitely. The sources say he spent a significant part of his childhood there in St. Catherine. This feels like the why behind the whole Jamaica venture.
He talks about the Jamaica he remembers with real warmth, real nostalgia, a place of, abundant banana farms, close-knit farming communities.
A different vibe.
A different vibe, and maybe more natural accessibility. He recalls, for instance, being able to visit places like Dunn's River Falls freely, without the modern tourist infrastructure. That's the emotional bedrock, I think. He knows the island's soul, its potential beyond just the resorts.
But it wasn't all sunshine and free-flowing waterfalls. The sources mention a really pivotal, quite traumatic moment.
Witnessing the devastation from Hurricane Gilbert.
That was 1988, right? A truly catastrophic storm for Jamaica.
It was. And Gilbert wasn't just a weather event, it was a systemic shock. It laid bare vulnerabilities in infrastructure, in planning, in national resilience.
So for a young guy who would later go on to manage critical UK infrastructure,
seeing that level of destruction firsthand must have forged a really deep, practical connection. It wasn't just theoretical risk, it was tangible. It likely showed him that beauty and fragility go hand in hand, and that development needs resilience baked in from the start. You have to build to withstand the worst.
And then there's this amazing family connection, almost out of left field.
The Gregory Isaacs connection. Yeah, that's quite something. Dean Jones is his second cousin.
The cool ruler, the crown prince of reggae himself.
The sources are specific. Gregory Isaacs was Jones's mother's first cousin. Her maiden name was Isaacs, so he's directly linked to one of the absolute giants of Jamaican music and culture.
You really can't overstate the significance of that in a Jamaican context. It's not just a fun fact. It means he grew up immersed in that cultural heartbeat.
Exactly. He talks about being surrounded by reggae and dancehall constantly. Yeah. Bob Marley, Garnet Silk, Sanchez, Barry's Hammond, living through the era of the big sound systems.
Stone Love, 4x4 Exodus, legendary names.
Legendary. This wasn't just background music, it was the fabric of life. It likely gave him this innate understanding of the island's rhythm, its social commentary, maybe even its patience and timing, that probably informs how he operates today.
Understanding that cultural rhythm is surely key to doing business effectively there. But if the culture gave him the rhythm, the sources suggest personal trials gave him the steel.
Yes. His philosophy on resilience seems deeply shaped by some profound personal challenges. These weren't minor bumps in the road.
No, these sound like life-altering events. The sources mention overcoming significant racial discrimination.
A really serious family car crash where they nearly died.
His daughter temporarily losing her sight and then regaining it.
And even a physical injury, crushing his own fingers, which would have directly impacted his ability to work, at least for a time.
Wow. Those are the kinds of experiences that forge you, aren't they?
Absolutely. The sources frame these as the crucible moments. They're why his later philosophy emphasizes not letting the breaking be my ending. He learned, it seems, the hard way, to choose integrity, to choose the long game over the easy shortcut born out of desperation or pain.
He explicitly calls those scars instructions, not obstacles. That failure, disappointment, heartbreak, they're actually necessary qualifications. They build the strength you need.
And it's that hard-won resilience, that perspective, that he's now bringing to the table in the Jamaican real estate market, which, as we'll discuss, has its own intense pressures.
Okay, so let's transition then. Part 3. How he structured his presence in the Caribbean market. He's clearly established himself as more than just an agent. He's positioned as an authority.
Definitely. He's a licensed Coldwell Banker Realtor-Associate. The license number S4487 is even mentioned.
That Coldwell Banker affiliation is interesting. It signals adherence to international standards, recognized training. It's like marrying that UK discipline with a global brokerage network.
Good point. And of course, he's the founder of Jamaica Homes, the platform itself.
And his reach seems pretty comprehensive across the island.
It does. While he naturally focuses on high-demand areas, St. Ann, Montego Bay, Kingston, the coasts, the sources say his service area covers all 14 parishes.
Which is strategically important, right? Because the market in Mo Bay with all the tourism and condos is totally different from, say, buying agricultural land in Portland or commercial property in Kingston.
Totally different dynamics. Serving all 14 parishes requires a serious network, deep local knowledge, and probably, quote, flexible approaches.
And the types of properties listed reflect that broad scope.
Yes. You see the high-end luxury stuff like those deluxe Vista villas in Tower Isle, Ocho Rios. The sources mention listings around the USD $800,000 mark for those.
Then there's the major urban development angle, like apartments in the Pinnacle in Montego Bay. We saw an example, Unit C 1803, listed at over USD $900,000. That's clearly targeting international buyers, diaspora investors.
Right. But critically, he balances that with more foundational stuff, like residential land in Snow Hill, Portland, listed around USD $125,000.
Which caters to a different market segment, maybe first-time local buyers, people looking for future development plots, agricultural use.
Exactly. It shows it's not just about the glitzy end of the market. His stated specialties, agricultural land, commercial, luxury, and residential, confirm that holistic approach. It feels like it's about island growth, not just tourist enclaves.
And perhaps the clearest sign of that UK project management mindset carrying over is his focus on education and resources. He hasn't just set up shop, he's produced guides.
The publications, yeah. This feels like a key differentiator. Especially for international buyers, the biggest hurdles are often confusion about the legal process, the financing, the local nuances.
Information asymmetry.
Precisely. His books seem designed to tackle that head-on, positioning him as a trusted guide, not just a salesman trying to close a deal.
So let's break down those publications for the learner. The first one, The Insider's Guide to Jamaica Homes, Unlocking Caribbean Real Estate.
Sounds like a foundational text.
It's positioned that way. An indispensable companion, the sources say. It apparently covers the really critical, often tricky stuff. Legal considerations, think land titles, registration issues, maybe complex succession laws, which can be common in the Caribbean. Financing options, which can be challenging for non-residents. And importantly, understanding local market trends, which often don't follow, say, U.S. or U.K. patterns. It's aimed at investors, retirees, first-time buyers, people looking for income properties.
Covering all the bases. Then there's From Novice to Expert, a guide to excelling in Jamaican real estate.
Right. That one seems geared towards the industry itself, like defining a pathway to success for other agents, emphasizing professionalism, raising the bar, perhaps.
Building capacity within the local market. And the third one connects back to his tech background.
Yeah, Digital Jamaica. Bridging the divide for a prosperous future. This highlights his vision for tech integration, digital transformation on the island. It's about selling the future potential of Jamaica, leveraging technology for infrastructure and growth, not just selling the houses that are already there.
It's strategic. And beyond the books, the Jamaica Homes platform itself seems designed to be a practical tool. The sources mention online calculators.
Yes. Mortgage calculators, closing costs calculators, rental yield, even sale commission calculators.
Now that feels very much like the UK project manager applying rigor to the Jamaican context.
Doesn't it? In a market where things like exchange rates, specific closing costs like transfer tax or stamp duty can be confusing or opaque, especially for foreigners.
These tools provide clarity. They demystify the numbers.
Exactly. Think about a rental yield calculator. It allows a potential investor to run real numbers, assess the likely return, factor in costs before they even get on a plane. It gives them that project budgeting confidence. It's about informed decision-making.
Which is absolutely essential because as we move into part 4, Jones really pulls back the veil on the day-to-day reality, the relentless hustle. This is where that UK discipline has to meet the Jamaican grind head-on.
That phrase again, relentless hustle, it's his own term, and it completely shatters any romantic notion you might have about being a real estate agent in the Caribbean, sipping cocktails between viewings.
Right. The sources spell out the unvarnished truth. Agents work purely on commission.
Purely. Zero base salary. Zero compensation if a deal falls through after weeks of work. Absolutely no reimbursement for gas driving across the island or for the time spent on searches that lead nowhere.
It's a high-risk profession then. High potential reward, maybe, but huge personal investment up front with no guarantees.
Immense upfront investment. The sources stress it is not just showing pretty houses and cashing commission checks, it's a grind. Constant negotiations, spending your own money on marketing, endless follow-ups, chasing down leads that often go cold.
And Jones apparently spends quite a bit of time detailing how client behavior can make this grind even harder. He talks about the client from hell scenarios.
Yeah, he outlines some specific recurring frustrations, things that waste agents' time and resources.
The first one sounds particularly painful, the budget game. What's that about?
Oh, this one sounds infuriating. It's when clients aren't upfront or, frankly, are dishonest about how much they can actually spend.
So they lowball their budget initially.
Exactly. An agent might spend weeks, maybe longer, diligently searching within the client's stated budget. Let's say it's $150,000. They invest their time, their fuel, maybe even their reputation with property owners, showing suitable, modest properties in that range.
Okay.
Then, weeks later, after all that effort, the client suddenly reveals, oh, actually, we've got access to $500,000 and we really want a luxury villa in a gated community.
Oh no, so all that previous work, completely wasted.
Totally wasted. The agent has effectively done the work for 3 different searches because the client wasn't transparent from the start. The sources suggest maybe clients do this because they think they'll get a better deal or they're just testing the waters, but the direct cost in time and money falls squarely on the agent.
It's a fundamental failure in defining the project scope, to put it back in those UK terms.
Yeah.
You can't plan anything effectively if the client hides the core requirements, like budget.
Precisely. Then there's the sheer logistical headache he calls the appointment maze.
Just setting up viewings sounds like a job in itself.
It really does.
Yeah,
it's not like just popping over to see a place.
Yeah.
It often involves days, sometimes weeks of back and forth. You've got to get permission from the current owner, coordinate with tenants if it's rented, make sure the property is secure but still accessible, liaise with other agents, sometimes across different parishes.
A lot of moving parts.
A lot. And the agent often has to travel significant distances, maybe hours, just to get to the property for the scheduled viewing.
So the real frustration comes when
The client is a no-show. Or cancels at the very last minute with a flimsy excuse.
after the agent has rearranged their whole day, burned the gas, made all those arrangements.
Only to be left standing there. Jones emphasizes that time, that money spent on fuel, it's a direct loss. It's unrecoverable in that commission-only structure.
That must be incredibly demoralizing.
And compounding all this is what he terms indecisiveness, the client who just can't make up their mind.
We've all met people like that, maybe.
But in this context, it's professionally exhausting. This is the client who drags the agent through radical shifts in what they want, week after week, without any initial clarity.
Like 1 week, they want only historic fixer-uppers.
The next week, it absolutely has to be a brand new condo in a high-rise.
Then the week after, they decide they only want raw land.
Right. It's this constant churning, this inability to define their own needs before engaging the agent's time and resources.
It's the polar opposite of that disciplined Westminster-style project planning, isn't it? It's scope creep driven by the client's own lack of direction.
Exactly. Jones's message seems to be, the agent is a professional resource. They know the market. If you, the client, haven't done the basic homework of figuring out what you actually need and can afford, you're just draining their resources, which ultimately hurts their ability to help serious, prepared clients.
And the sources point to one specific group where these issues can be particularly pronounced: the returner client.
Ah, yes. Jamaicans returning to the island after living abroad for many years, maybe decades.
This sounds like a really nuanced challenge.
It is. It seems born from a mix of nostalgia, cultural adjustment, and sometimes unrealistic expectations. These returnees might arrive expecting the island to be exactly as they remember it from 20, 30 years ago.
Ignoring huge changes in cost of living, infrastructure, property values.
Right, or they might try to directly apply market comparisons from, say, London or New York or Toronto without understanding the local context.
What kind of things?
Maybe demanding certain high-end finishes but refusing to invest in adequate security for a particular neighborhood. Or perhaps balking at the real cost of renovating an older property because they're holding on to a nostalgic idea of what things should cost, which doesn't match today's labor and material prices.
So there's a disconnect between the dream and the reality.
A big disconnect sometimes. Jones emphasizes that the agent's job is to provide professional advice based on the current Jamaican reality regarding security needs, realistic renovation budgets, how a property actually fits the modern island lifestyle.
The takeaway seems pretty clear then. This relentless hustle requires professionalism and resilience from the agent, yes, but it also demands something from the client.
Absolutely. Honesty about capacity, respect for the agent's time and expertise, and a willingness to listen to that local knowledge. The sources suggest listening saves everyone time, money, and a lot of stress.
It confirms that even in a tough, commission-driven market, integrity has to be the guiding principle. The commission should be earned through diligent work and realistic guidance, not just chasing any deal at any cost.
Which leads us perfectly into part 5. The underlying philosophy that seems to drive Dean Jones. It's deeply rooted in concepts like integrity, faith, purpose.
Positioned almost as antidotes to the temptation of shortcuts and greed that must surely exist in any high-pressure, sales-focused industry.
Very much so. He uses quite powerful, often faith-based language to frame it. Struggle isn't failure, it's instruction. He quotes this belief, who God bless no man curse. It reframes difficulty, heartbreak, disappointment. They're not signs you're on the wrong path. They're actually necessary qualification for strength and resilience. The tough stuff is what refines you, prepare you.
He also draws a really clear line between success and significance. What's the difference for him, according to the sources?
Success seems to be the external stuff. The visible markers, the nice car, the apartment with a great view, the things people associate with making it.
Okay, the conventional measures.
Right. But wealth and significance, in his view, are internal. They're about achieving internal peace, knowing you built something meaningful, something with heart, and crucially, knowing you didn't step on anyone to climb higher.
That's a powerful distinction. It elevates the goal beyond just the transaction, building a legacy, not just a list of sales.
Maintaining that ethical standard must be incredibly challenging, though, in that relentless hustle environment we just talked about.
You'd think so.
But he seems committed. He explicitly says he stands for integrity in a world that celebrates shortcuts. He wants to build real estate that serves lives, not just listings. It feels like an act of resistance against putting greed before God, as he might put it, or compromising your principles for a quick financial gain. It's like applying the same ethical rigor needed for that counterterrorism hub to selling a plot of land. The standard doesn't change.
And he ties this very personal philosophy back to the character of Jamaica itself. He describes the island almost as a living entity, one that will test you.
Yeah, that testing is multifaceted. The physical heat tests your patience. The systems, the bureaucracy, can test your endurance. The waiting involved in getting things done sometimes tests your faith.
But there's a payoff.
Yes. He suggests the island ultimately rewards the boat, meaning those who persevere, honors the patient, and exalts the faithful. It's like the personal challenges he faced, the discrimination, the accident, are just individual examples of the broader resilience needed to engage successfully with Jamaica.
It really reframes the whole process of buying property there. He sees deals not just as financial contracts,
but as entering into a covenant with someone's dream. That puts a much heavier weight of responsibility on both the agent and the investor, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It makes it relational, not just transactional.
And this focus on choice comes through strongly, too, especially when facing difficulties. It's always a choice. Fear or freedom, cage or courage. He repeats that idea. Your story, your struggle, your scars, they're not obstacles. They're instructions. They're the keys that open your next door.
So being misunderstood, facing obstacles, it's part of the process.
He seems to view it as the price of purpose. The challenges you overcome, the questions you face, they actually pave the way for earning genuine, deep respect in the long run.
So pulling it all together, when someone chooses to invest in Jamaica, whether it's money in property or time in building relationships or aligning with a sense of purpose, Jones argues they're doing more than just buying a piece of land.
They're planting legacy, engaging in a process that, if done with integrity, actually refines them, rebuilds them, prepares them for something greater. It's navigating that unique, sometimes challenging market with the right mindset.
It really is a compelling blend, isn't it? That London-trained, methodical planning mindset.
Applied with the passion, the resilience, the sort of spiritual grounding of someone whose family roots go deep into Jamaican soil, connected to cultural icons like the Isaacs family. It's discipline fused with deep purpose.
Okay, as we wrap up this deep dive on Dean Jones, let's try to crystallize the key takeaways for you, the learner. What stands out most?
Well, first, it's clearly the successful merging of these two very different professional worlds.
Yeah.
You've got the extreme discipline, the high-stakes, precision-learned managing projects like the Palace of Westminster security.
Absolute rigor.
And somehow applying that effectively to the dynamic, relationship-heavy, passionate world of Jamaican real estate. It shows it can be done.
Second takeaway has to be the need for realism and solid preparation.
Absolutely. The sources hammer this home. If you're entering the Jamaican market as a buyer, investor, or even an agent, you have to accept the hustle is real. Meaning, be upfront about your budget. Respect the agent's time. It's literally their money you're spending when they drive across the island for you. And be willing to listen to their local expertise, rather than relying solely on outdated memories or inappropriate foreign comparisons.
And use the resources available. Leverage things like his insider's guide. Use those online financial calculators he provides. Do your homework to get that crucial edge on the legal and financial aspects.
Preparation is key. And finally, the overarching message seems to be about the long game.
Right. True success in this market, long-term success, isn't about grabbing the fastest commission or accumulating those superficial markers of success, the flashy car, the penthouse view.
It has to be built on something deeper. On integrity, on what Jones calls significance, on building those covenants rather than just closing contracts. That focus on integrity, on the long term, paradoxically becomes the best risk mitigation strategy in a volatile market.
Build trust, build relationships, build reputation.
Exactly. Which brings us to our final provocative thought for you, the learner, to chew on after this discussion. We've seen how Jones took these incredibly disciplined, large-scale planning principles, the kind you need for securing parliament or building massive infrastructure,
Westminster-level planning.
and applied them successfully to property development and sales in Jamaica, a market he himself calls a relentless hustle, while championing integrity. So the question for you is, how can an individual investor or homeowner in Jamaica, someone maybe buying their first home or building a small rental unit, take those same rigorous planning principles from the UK context?
Things like really defining the scope up front, meticulous budgeting, proactive risk assessment.
Exactly. How can they practically use those tools to ensure their own, perhaps much smaller scale, venture is built solidly on covenant, on critical thinking, on disciplined planning, and not just left to chance, luck, or ego?
How do you scale down that Westminster rigor and apply it to your personal dream project in St. Anne or Kingston? Moving from just the excitement of the idea to the discipline needed for successful execution.
That's the challenge. How do you balance the hustle with the blueprint?
Something to definitely think about. That framework of rigor versus resilience, planning versus passion. Thank you for joining us for the deep dive.
We'll see you next time.